What's going on, you guys? You're tuned into the Cutting Room Knife Review. I'm your host, Garrett, and today we're taking a look at the Knife Standards RR Station Express. This is the newest addition to the lineup over at Knife Standards, and it's one of my favorites. It's quickly become one of my absolute favorite knives. As a compact knife, it's really easy to carry. It has a fairly simple but unique design. The Station was a big knife that looked a lot like this. It was a big sheep's foot that had a large straight blade that came off it, and this is the size down version of it. And he calls the size down version the Express. And if you look at this knife, it kind of looks like a train. It kind of looks like the front end of the train right here, followed by like a train car back here. If you can just use your imagination a little bit, it's with the fuller that they use on the blade and everything. It really kind of is a neat design, and it's a design that is simple but works. It's really comfortable in the hand. There's nothing on the knife that's really unnecessary, but there's plenty on the knife to make it a really good user. This is big enough to be an everyday carry, to be your primary knife, but it's also small enough to be a second knife. It's small enough to come along with you in times where you don't need much of a knife. But even in those times, what you get is actually a pretty good sized blade, a very capable blade in this hollow ground Vanex sheep's foot. And you have enough handle to fit my entire hand. And all the ergonomics on it are pretty much dead on. If you need something to slice, you need something to carry that's light, and you like something that's, unique looking and actually has some really amazing action, this is a good knife for you. Let's take a look at the specifications and materials that make up the RR Station Express. What's up, guys? I'm Garrett. You're tuned in to the Cutting Room Knife Review, where I review knives, blades, and all things sharp. Please like and subscribe so I can keep bringing you more killer knife content. All right, first let's compare the RR Station Express to some other knives. And by law, I am forced to compare it to the Spyderco Para 3 first. And as we see, it's actually smaller than the Spyderco Para 3 by just a little bit. So that makes it a small knife. This is what I have deemed schmedium, the smallest medium-sized knife that there is. Anything smaller than a Para 3, in my review, in my opinion, is going to be considered a compact or a small knife. Now, as far as Spydercos go, it's about the size of the Native 5. The Native 5 is just a teensy-weensy bit longer than it, but the Native 5 is a little bit smaller than the Para 3, and it's about very close to the same size as the RR Station Express. Now, the knife that is actually just about the same dang size as the RR Station Express is going to be the Chris Reeves Small Sebenza 31. They are almost dead on the same size of each other. So if you're comfortable with a Small Sebenza 31, I think you're going to feel really comfortable with an RR Station Express. Now, if you have any other Knife Standards knives, like you might have the RR3, you're going to notice that the RR3 is the bigger choice. So this is what's available from Knife Standards right now. If you want a bigger knife, the RR3 is definitely the one to go to. If you want a compact knife, the Station Express. The Station Express kind of almost feels like a secondary carry to the RR3. In some ways, if I was going to carry both of these, this would be my primary and this would be my backup, but really they're a whole lot different knives. This being a completely straight blade with its sheep's foot design, and this being a drop point. The blades are just going to get utilized differently, but we have a much heavier knife, a much more robust knife, and this is going to just be a lighter weight, more compact, a little yet less all-around utilitarian knife. It doesn't quite have all the features of this, but it's incredibly compact and light. So you're going to give some, you're going to take some. Most people either like their very straight blades or they like having belly to their blades. And that might be what you're making your choice on. Now, the actual dimensions of the knife are going to be 6.75 inches overall. We have a 6.75 inch overall length with a blade length of 3 inches, 3 inches flat. Now, the actual cutting edge of the knife is 2.65 inches, but the blade itself is a 3-inch blade. Now, that leaves 3.75 inches for the handle. This is a very even blade to handle ratio. And because of this, we need to have a very strong handle on the knife. And I think they've done a good job of this knife. It's 0.75 inches wide and it's 0.5 inches thick. So the height is 3/4 of an inch and the width is 0.5 inch. I know I just said it was 3/4 wide, and that's actually the height of the knife. For some reason, I always seem to think that this is the width, and it's not. This is the height. This is the width. So 0.75, 0.5. And what we have is a 0.13 thickness on the spine. And we have a nice, robust spine in that thickness. But it's because we have this hollow grind on this VanX blade that we're able to keep it thick up here and still have an incredibly slicey edge down here. The blade stays thin for a much longer time than a flat grind would because it's able to come down and stay thin and stay thin, and then curve up at the very end like a wave or a skateboard ramp, and you get the best of both worlds. You have nice and thick up here for strength, and you have tiny, tiny thin all the way down here for lots of sliceability, lots of cutting ease. So VanX itself is an amazing choice. It's used on both of the Knife Standards knives that we have. VanX is basically the alternate to MagnaCut. MagnaCut, VanX, they're both incredibly corrosion resistant. I think that VanX shines at a lower HRC than MagnaCut does, so we're able to get better blades out of MagnaCut and from manufacturers that can't do incredibly high HRC MagnaCut. So what would be, 63, 64 would be a great HRC rating for MagnaCut. You have 61 for VanX is about where the peak is. Now you can get it up higher, but for corrosion resistance for the most well-balanced VanX, 61, 62 maybe, but this is a 60 to 61 HRC. So it's right in there. It comes from Bestech. This is a Bestech OEM, this knife, and in my opinion, you can't go wrong with Bestech. Bestech and Riyot are putting out the best knives out of any of the OEM manufacturers out in China. All the knives that Bestech has been putting out recently that I've came across have been great knives with great steels. I think this is no exception to that rule. Now for the handle, we have a titanium handle. We have this nice RR inlay over the pivot, which I love. It's a tribute to his dad. ATR and his dad have had a great relationship. All of ATR's knives are dedicated to his father. I think that's really touching. I have a good relationship with my father. Their love for trains and their love for knives influenced this knife. And if you look at, the shape of the blade and the body, if you really look at it, it kind of looks like a train. It looks like the train engine here with, a train car following behind it. I like the design. It's kind of like a tribute inception to his dad. There's multiple layers of tribute in this knife, from just the initials to an ode to a different hobby they had, which was their love of trains mixed with their love of knives. And there's just so much tribute to his dad, RR, and his knives. It's really just touching. So what we have is a titanium scale and frame with fat carbon inlays on top of it. And so what we have here is a bolster lock, which is basically a frame lock that has carbon fiber over it. So it looks kind of like what you'd have a liner lock, but this isn't really a liner. This is the frame of the knife that is all one piece, that basically has a cutout for this carbon fiber to sit in, and the frame basically goes under the carbon fiber is staying flat like a liner lock would, but really it's just the one piece of the titanium that is the locking mechanism. And so really what it's doing is acting like a frame lock. but we just have what looks like this little tiny button right here. And actually, it's a really easy knife to lock and unlock. The lockup is solid, and I don't feel like I'm going to unlock it by using the knife ever, but the amount of pressure you really have to put on isn't a ton, and it's just a really nice, smooth, easy lock and unlock. There's no blade stick at all. It's really a clean design. It's really put together nice. We have some milling on the inside of these titanium scales. The milling is under the carbon fiber, which just reduces the weight that much more. This is a 2.4 ounce knife. This is the lightest knife that I have reviewed so far. So take that for what it's worth. It's really easy to carry. It's really easy to handle. It will get lost in your pocket. Not literally, but you will not feel this in your pocket. It's light. It's easy to carry. It's almost like there's no knife here at all when I hold it. I prefer a little bit heavier of knives, to tell you the truth, just because it feels more robust. But with this knife in particular, I don't ever feel like it's going to be weak. I don't feel like it's too little. It's really quite light. We have a nice titanium pocket clip rounding out the body. And this pocket clip is the traditional pocket clip you see on the other Knife Standards knives. It's the same pocket clip. It works great. As you can see, I've been carrying my knife. I have snail trails all over the pocket clip because this knife goes around with me. I love using it. They do make a wire pocket clip that is, you can substitute. You can swap this one out for a wire pocket clip. I do know that some come with just the wire. Some come with both. Mine did not. Mine just came with this pocket clip, but that is just fine for me. I prefer the titanium. Now let's talk about the action of this knife. So the RR Station Express, just like the RR3, has immaculate action. It runs on some really nice ceramic bearings. Bestech does a great job with action on all their knives, but these in particular have came out incredibly smooth. So we have thumb studs for deployment. We do have a fuller through the entire blade. I'm not really able to use the fuller on the thumb side. I can get to it on the rear side, and with my pointer finger, I can flick it. I do prefer to just use the finger stud to flick with my index finger. Has a really nice amount of jimping that goes quite a ways up the spine on the knife, allowing my thumb to get way up on the knife. And where I push down the knife right here just allows me to have complete control over this knife. It's really easy to utilize. It's really easy to feel comfortable with. This knife is locked in basically the way I have it. The knife's not going anywhere. This is the way I hold this knife. Can you pinch grip this knife? Yeah, you sure can. It's really easy. There's no jimping up here, but I don't feel like I need it. The hollow grind is actually really easy to grab with my two fingers, and you can do all kinds of detail work with this knife, especially with the straight sheep's foot design. This straight edge is really good for precision work. You're able to really get into this corner right here and make very fine detail cuts. We have some nice little tidbits on this knife. We have a number right here, so serial number 5. I have number 5 out of all these knives. Somehow I managed to get number 5. It says Van X in the fuller right there, and then on top here it has ATR's initials. He is the designer of the knife and the creator owner of Knife Standards, and I think he has, for I'm going to say a pun, but I think he set a really good standard with his knives, and these knives are great that he's been putting out. Each one that I use, I keep falling in love with. I really have to say that ATR has designed some really cool knives. I like them a lot. This knife also has one last way you can deploy it. I kind of forgot to say that earlier. It has a front flipper. You can roll the knife over right there. We can either slow roll it or we can snap it up. Either way, very effective. I do find myself using the thumb studs more with this knife. I'm not much of a front flipper person, but it is there and it works just fine. So the last kind of cool thing about this knife is that there's like a double detent at the end of this knife, and I just love the way it sounds. If you hear that double click, both knife centers knives that I have this where there's this double detent in it, and it just gives it a really nice little touch. It feels clean. I'm not sure whether that makes it better or worse than knife. It's just something that I've noticed on their knives, and it's just a little touch that I really like. You found it on the Sebenza 21s. The Sebenza 31 does not have that anymore, but I like hear that 2 clicks. The Excalibur is another knife that does that, and it's I don't know, it's music to my ears for some reason. I don't know why I like it so much, but I just love those 2 little quick detents right next to each other, the little pop before the lock. So I'm going to get into my final thoughts on the RR Station Express. So let's go over my final thoughts on this knife. Now, the RR Station Express is available through Knife Standards. It's available on some retailers, and it's going to come out to be about $350, $360 when it's all said and done. And I think that's about where the knife should be. Has really good materials, Vanex super clean blade, titanium, fat carbon. The action on it is absolutely immaculate. I think that this knife is worth the money. Now, the size of this knife is probably going to be the only thing that holds some people back from getting it. I think aesthetically, this knife's really pleasing. If you want a sheep's foot blade, you want a straight blade type of knife, it reminds me of an old like barbershop razor. This knife is exactly what you're looking for. If you're looking for a big knife to do big tasks with, like a Hinderer XM18, for instance, this isn't really competing with that knife. This is, something that's for smaller tasks. It's got a pretty big blade on it for how small the knife is, but it's still going to be for smaller tasks. I'm not carrying this on the construction site with me as my primary carry. Maybe a backup carry, but this isn't what I'm going to be carrying all day on my construction site. It's just not built for that. I think it's built for carrying around town. It's built for throwing in your purse. It's built for using with, say, you're in gym shorts. You need to have, a good blade on you at all times, but, you're in your trunks. You're in your basketball shorts. You're taking to the office. This would be a great office knife. This is not that intimidating when it's all folded up. It doesn't look like much at all. It's going to disappear in your pocket. And when you open it up, it's actually, for a utilitarian knife, it's going to do a great job. It's going to cut whatever cardboard you need. It's going to open up whatever package you need. It's going to do the slicing jobs that you want it to do. Is it, going to compete with just a big knife? That's not what it's for. So as far as compact knives go, this is a killer knife. I am 100% behind this knife for people that need a smaller knife. If you need a simplistic secondary carry to go along with your smaller knife, this is another great choice. If you need a big knife to do big things, this isn't a big knife. So just take that into consideration. But otherwise, the knife looks beautiful. The knife is beautiful. It has absolutely amazing action on it. It's very comfortable in my hands. The ergonomics are just splendid on it. And there's actually a really good fidget factor to this knife. I could just sit here and play with it all day long. Both Knife Standards knives that I have are very good in that department. So, overall, it's a win. I think this is a complete win as long as you're using it for what it's to be used for, which I think is, a small carry. So does it compete with like the small Sebenza? Yeah, if you want a straight blade, I think it really does. Does it compete with the small Nkosi? Yeah, I think it does if you want, a straight blade. If you want something for poking, obviously this isn't a poking blade. Other than that, I think this blade's money. I think this is an awesome knife. I think ATR really did a great job on the design of this knife. I think it's a really good addition to the stable of Knife Standards knives. They needed something on the compact side, and this fills that spot just perfectly. So my hat's off to ATR. Great job. ATR also does Knife Standards, which is a YouTube channel and does knife reviews. He is an amazing YouTuber. Go check out his YouTube. I'll put a link to it in the description. And yeah, check yourself out in RR Station Express. It's worth it. If you're looking for a small knife, if you're looking for a great looking knife, you're looking for a knife with amazing action, this is it for you. So this has been the RR Station Express. It's a cutting room knife review. I'm your host, Garrett. Till next time, guys, stay sharp.